The film begins by showing a young couple who are performing a wedding ceremony in a church. Actually, there was nothing strange about the wedding, except for the fact that both the bride and groom and the guests who attended the wedding ceremony were high school students. Even though high school students are considered too young to get married, the government arranged marriage to increase the birth rate, which is decreasing over time because more modern Japanese people choose to remain alone for the rest of their lives. Therefore, the Japanese government launched a special program to find a life partner for teenagers who have turned 16 years old based on genetic calculations that have been calculated very carefully. Although the government does not impose any penalties on the assignment couple who refuse to marry, the government strongly recommends that they marry a partner that has been determined by the government. After the wedding blessing, the bride and groom and the invited guests then leave the church, where they gather because the bride will perform the ritual of throwing flowers. When the other students seemed very enthusiastic about catching the wedding flower bouquets that were thrown at them, it turned out that the one who got the bouquet was a young man named Yudo Shiba, who did not expect to get it at all. But because he already got it, Yudo then gave the bouquet to his childhood friend, a girl named Aoi Nisaka. Seeing this, his schoolmates cheered Yudo and Aoi and prayed that they would become lovers. The next day, Yudo and Aoi are seen walking in a park and doing fun and quite romantic things, even though they are just friends. Because Yudo and Aoi had indeed been close friends since childhood, they seemed very close and felt comfortable with each other. When taking Aoi home, Yudo then told her that soon, her dream of meeting her dream prince might come true because she would soon be 16 years old. Hearing this, Aoi was reminded of his childhood when he kissed Yudo during a drama performance at school. At that time, Aoi told Yudo that he should not kiss other girls besides her. Recalling those memories, Aoi suddenly felt very ashamed of Yudo. Long story short, Aoi finally celebrates her 16th birthday with her parents and her uncle, Daisuke. They then discuss the government's matchmaking program, where Aoi's parents turned out to be a couple who had been betrothed through the program and have been able to maintain their marriage to this day. Aoi seemed very enthusiastic because she wanted to hear the story of her parents' love story. However, Daisuke didn't want to talk about his romance when Aoi asked about it. Daisuke then gives Aoi a birthday present and suggests that she open the gift after finding the one she loves. In the evening, Aoi looked anxious waiting for a call from Yudo because he would usually wish her a happy birthday over the phone. Not long after, Aoi finally got a call from Yudo who asked her to meet at the park tonight. Aoi gets excited and dresses up beautifully to meet Yudo. When they finally met, Yudo wished her a happy birthday and gave her a present. While they were chatting, Aoi suddenly received a notification from the government about her potential partner. However, Aoi seemed so nervous that she didn't dare to look at her potential partner's face. On the other hand, she actually really hopes that her potential partner is Yudo. Aoi then asks Yudo to help pretend to be her potential partner so that she can practice so that she doesn't feel nervous when meeting her potential partner. Hearing this, Yudo immediately agreed to help Aoi. Surprisingly, Yudo then expressed his love for Aoi. Before Aoi could say anything, because she was too shocked to hear her childhood friend's declaration of love, Yudo kissed her instead. But before we continue the video, we want to thank CyberGhost VPN for sponsoring this video. When was the last time you realized that a VPN could give you various exciting features, not only the safety of surfing the internet? CyberGhost VPN is the perfect choice for you since you can get an unprecedented variety of valuable features. Now you can keep your Google searches in private with real and organic search results without tracking your activity. Just like a shield, all the important stuff stays private and secure. CyberGhost VPN is more than just a VPN, it blocks all the malicious links, ads, and trackers, and notifies you when someone is trying to steal your data. You no longer need to worry about online crimes that are always at your site all the time. They also have a strict no logs policy, so no one will know about your online activity, not even CyberGhost themselves. Thanks to CyberGhost VPN, now you can access geo-restricted content from websites, YouTube, social media networks, find better deals online, and play games blocked in your region. Protect your identity by keeping your data encrypted and even get blocked libraries of over 40 streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus and many more. For more convenience in accessing various websites, you can use one subscription to protect up to 7 devices at a time so you can share with your family and friends. There's a 45-day money-back guarantee and 24/7 customer support, so everything is risk-free. Right now, CyberGhost VPN is running a huge discount ever, just $2.23 a month, plus 4 months free which is 83% off. There is no reason to miss an innovative VPN like CyberGhost VPN. Based on my experience, the integrated CyberGhost VPN features are a genius breakthrough. That's why it is the only VPN that offers a myriad of security and new experiences surfing the internet. So what are you waiting for? Join the more than 38 million users worldwide who are very satisfied with CyberGhost VPN. Don't forget to click on the description link to get the special offer. Remember, it's only $2.23 a month. Totally risk-free, so check it out now. Link in the description. Not long after, they were surprised by the appearance of a young man carrying flowers and calling out Aoi's name. The young man then approached Aoi and introduced himself as Sosuke Takachiho, her potential partner who had been chosen by the government. Sosuke then gave the flowers he had prepared as a birthday present and their introductory gift. Seeing Aoi, who looked happy when she finally met her potential partner, Yudo then said goodbye and left the two of them. Sosuke then told Aoi that he wanted to get to know her better. Therefore, Sosuke invites Aoi to have lunch at a cafe. Aoi never thought that Sosuke would immediately ask her out on a date. The next day at the cafe, because she was too nervous, Aoi called her uncle for advice on a first date. Daisuke suggested that Aoi try to relax because if she was too nervous, she would end up messing things up. After hanging up the phone from her uncle, Aoi was surprised by Sosuke, who was already standing behind her. Aoi suddenly felt very awkward. Moreover, Sosuke was very quiet and also rarely smiled. In the middle of the conversation, Sosuke grabbed Aoi's hand and took her away. They then went for a walk in the park, where Sosuke emphasized that he didn't care about Aoi's background because his parents had approved of their arranged marriage. Sosuke also says that he will still marry Aoi because he wants to obey government regulations, and as long as Aoi doesn't bother him, he will not complicate Aoi's life. After that, Sosuke then set a date for their next meeting and left Aoi just like that. A few days later, Aoi, who was contemplating thinking about Sosuke, was surprised by her classmates who suddenly took out her cell phone. They were also very surprised when they found out that Aoi's future partner was the son of Takachiho's hospital chairman. However, Aoi didn't seem to care about that due to Sosuke's cold attitude towards her. Not long after, she then greeted Yudo, who had just entered the classroom. Aoi immediately looked cheerful when she saw Yudo, hoping to tell her best friend about all the worries she was going through. But unexpectedly, Yudo turned cold towards Aoi and only greeted her briefly, then immediately went to his seat. Yudo seems to want to keep his distance from Aoi, who now has a potential partner. Sometime later, Aoi and Sosuke are finally dating again. But on their date this time, Aoi changes her appearance, hoping that Sosuke will pay attention to her. However, Aoi once again had to feel disappointed because her appearance did not impress Sosuke at all. After dating Sosuke, Aoi then goes to the park and wants to entertain herself by buying her favorite snack. At the park, she accidentally meets Yudo, who also wants to buy the snack. Aoi then asks Yudo about her new look. Yudo openly says that he prefers Aoi's appearance as she is because she only needs to be herself if she wants to look beautiful and captivate the hearts of young men. Yudo then asks if Aoi feels happy when she is with Sosuke. Hearing this, Aoi only said that she was fine. However, Yudo, who knows Aoi's personality very well, immediately realizes that Aoi is lying because she was talking while holding her bangs. Yudo then gives a little advice to Aoi so that she can become closer to Sosuke. The next day, Aoi decides to meet Sosuke at his house and looks so surprised when he sees Sosuke's house, which is very grand and luxurious. Sosuke's parents, who were at home, greeted Aoi and treated her quite kindly, even though Sosuke's father immediately discussed the huge responsibility that Aoi had to bear after becoming Sosuke's wife. They then chatted and tried to get to know each other better. But in the middle of the conversation, Sosuke suddenly appears and triggers a fight with his father because he feels annoyed at the father trying to mentally intimidate Aoi. After that, he immediately took Aoi away from his house. Aoi, who realized Sosuke did not have a harmonious relationship with his parents, especially his father, thanked him for helping her out of the situation. She also felt happy because Sosuke defended her in front of his father and was very impressed with his attitude, which he thought was very cool. Sosuke told Aoi that his parents were too involved in every aspect of his life, so he couldn't do everything according to his own wishes, especially when his older brother died. He became the only son who had to fulfill the wishes and expectations of his parents. Sosuke becomes even more depressed because he doesn't have someone who understands his feelings and also doesn't have friends who can comfort him. Therefore, Aoi then tells Sosuke that she wants to be friends with Sosuke and tries to understand. She hopes that Sosuke can trust her so he will feel comfortable telling every complaint and problem he faces. Aoi also said he would fight hard so Sosuke could be more open to her. At first, Sosuke thought that Aoi would leave him after discovering that he did not have a good relationship with his parents. However, seeing Aoi's sincerity in wanting to get to know him more closely, Sosuke became interested in his assignment partner. When Aoi was about to get on the bus, Sosuke suddenly chased after her and kissed her. In the end, Aoi didn't even get on the bus and spent more time with Sosuke. A few days later, Sosuke asked Aoi to return on a date. Aoi took Sosuke to a shopping center in the middle of their date. She wants to buy something for Yudo because soon he will have his 16th birthday. After buying a present for Yudo, Aoi notices that Sosuke is getting gloomy and cold towards her. Sosuke finally revealed that he was not happy because Aoi was thinking about other men when they were dating. Knowing Sosuke's jealousy makes Aoi very happy because it indicates his romantic feelings for her. Moreover, Sosuke also kissed her passionately. Yudo's birthday arrived. Aoi then gave a scarf as a birthday present. After wishing him a happy birthday, Aoi was enthusiastic about asking about Yudo's potential partner and hoped he could introduce her to Aoi. However, Yudo said that his potential partner lives far away, so he probably won't be seeing her anytime soon. Aoi then invites Yudo to go with her and Sosuke so that he and Sosuke can get to know each other and be good friends. At first, the situation was awkward. Moreover, Sosuke managed to lighten the mood so Yudo didn't feel awkward when he was around him. On the other hand, Yudo is also trying to befriend Sosuke because he doesn't want to disappoint Aoi. After lunch, the three decided to check out an event at a shopping mall. Aoi and Sosuke rushed toward the place, but Yudo looked quite overwhelmed when he matched their pace, and he also looked very tired and was having trouble catching his breath. That night, when Aoi was at a shop selling souvenirs, Yudo and Sosuke were involved in a serious conversation. Yudo then told him everything about Aoi, from things she likes and her habits to things she doesn't like. Unbeknownst to Yudo and Sosuke, Aoi apparently eavesdropped on their conversation. After that, Yudo then asked if Sosuke liked Aoi and could make her happy. Hearing this question, Sosuke only said that it was none of his business. However, Yudo suddenly became angry and immediately attacked Sosuke. They would have almost gotten into a fight had Aoi not rushed over to break up the two young men. Yudo, who felt annoyed, then chose to just leave. While Aoi is chasing Yudo, Sosuke accidentally finds something that seems to have fallen from Yudo's bag when they are about to fight. After that incident, Yudo never went to school again and became very difficult to contact. A few days later, Aoi gets a call from Sosuke saying he will continue his education at Kyoto University and major in medicine. Sosuke said that he got a scholarship at the university and wanted to achieve his dream of becoming a doctor with his hard work, not because of the influence of his parents. Even though she feels very sad because she has to be separated for a while, Aoi is very happy because Sosuke has a dream and is fighting to make it come true. Aoi then told Sosuke that she would continue to support him and remain faithful to waiting for him. Time passed, and it didn't feel like Sosuke had been living in Kyoto long enough. Aoi, who finally has the opportunity to take a vacation, then visits Sosuke, and they miss each other and spend time on dates. Besides visiting Sosuke, Aoi also took the time to visit her uncle, who lives in Kyoto. Daisuke looks happy. After all, he hasn't seen his niece for a long time because he is too busy working. Aoi then asked about her uncle's love story that he had not been able to tell. Seeing Aoi being so happy with her assignment partner, Daisuke also felt quite relieved because Aoi didn't have the same fate as him. Daisuke reveals that he and his assignment partner ended their relationship right before the wedding. On the one hand, Daisuke thinks that he will only hinder the career that is being built by his partner. They finally agreed to end it all and committed to finding each other's happiness. In the end, even though the government may have found the best match for them, but in Daisuke's case, they can't put aside their feelings and desires. The next day, Sosuke again asks Aoi out on a date, and he then takes her to a romantic place and proposes to Aoi there. Even though Sosuke proposed to her with a simple ring, but Aoi was very happy and accepted the proposal from Sosuke. When she finally returned to school, Aoi told her classmates that she would soon marry Sosuke. However, Aoi felt sad because she had not received any news from Yudo yet. She is curious about the wedding and asks Sosuke about his parents and whether he has reconciled with them. But Sosuke avoided the question, saying he didn't want to talk about his parents. Aoi, who felt that she would soon become Sosuke's wife, naturally couldn't let it go, so the next day, she secretly met Sosuke's father at the hospital. In their conversation, Aoi finally realizes that Mr. Takachiho is indeed a very firm person in determining the future of his son, even completely ignoring Sosuke's wishes or feelings. When he was about to leave the hospital, Aoi accidentally saw Sosuke walking toward his father's room. Curious about what they would talk about, she secretly followed Sosuke and overheard their conversation. Sosuke turns out to beg him to provide a letter of recommendation for treatment for Yudo, who is suffering from a stage 3 brain tumor. For the sake of Yudo's recovery, Sosuke is even willing to give up his dream of becoming a doctor and obey his father's wish to replace his father's position as hospital leader. He also asked his father not to tell Aoi about Yudo's illness because he didn't want to upset Aoi. After all, Sosuke had also promised Yudo to keep it a secret. Hearing this, Aoi looked very shocked because she just discovered that Yudo was seriously ill and couldn't do anything to help him. Sosuke then meets Yudo and submits the letter of recommendation so that he can undergo treatment abroad to cure his illness. Even though Yudo suffers from an impossible disease to cure, Sosuke asks him not to lose hope and continue to fight for his recovery. Yudo is also very grateful to Sosuke for helping him and says he will become a great doctor. Realizing that Sosuke is the right partner for Aoi, Yudo begs him to always take care of Aoi and make her happy. The next day, Sosuke takes Aoi on a date to a romantic place where he then expresses his love for Aoi and says that he wants to celebrate their wedding anniversary there every year. Sosuke then kissed Aoi, but he felt something different than usual. He realizes that Aoi actually loves Yudo and vice versa. Aoi and Sosuke's wedding day arrives. The invited guests have arrived, but the bride and groom have not appeared at the church at all. Aoi, who was wearing a wedding dress, was actually waiting for Yudo in front of the church. Not long after, Sosuke came to her and said that Yudo would not attend their wedding because he was going abroad. Aoi dodged and said she wasn't waiting for Yudo while holding her bangs. But Sosuke immediately knew that Aoi was lying, so he asked Aoi to chase after Yudo while giving her the ticket he had prepared. While Aoi tries to follow Yudo to the airport, Sosuke enters the church and tells everyone that the marriage is annulled. Aoi finally met Yudo at the airport and immediately expressed her love for him. Likewise Yudo, who has loved Aoi since the first. Aoi said she wanted to accompany Yudo during his treatment abroad, and they kissed. After that, Yudo and Aoi then spent time doing many fun things until finally, Yudo proposed to Aoi and promised to continue to love her forever. Sometime later, Yudo finally died after battling his illness. Aoi was reunited with Sosuke when they accidentally met while visiting Yudo's grave. Sosuke, who still loves Aoi, hopes that he can restart his love affair with Aoi and pledge their relationship in a marriage bond. The moral we can learn from this film is that love cannot be forced to be present because love will come naturally to anyone and at any time. Never ignore love if it has come to us. But if our love is one-sided, then don't stop loving and don't replace it with hatred.